All right, we talk so much about the White House, we can sometimes forget the battle going on right now for control of the two other big legislative branches that we're keeping an eye on. That includes, of course, the Senate and the House. But we could see a big switcheroo in the Senate right now if you just take a look at where some vulnerable Democrats are now at the risk of getting tossed, and that would land the Senate in their hands, Republican hands. Senator John Cornyn certainly hopes so. He's working hard to make sure that happens. A Texas Republican and perhaps future Republican leader, kind enough to join us. Senator, always great having you. How are things looking on that front?
Well, I'm very optimistic. We have the best Senate map we've had in a long time. Steve Daines and Mitch McConnell have done a very nice job recruiting the very best candidates you could hope for. Certainly the environment around the country is very positive for change. Most Americans think that we're on the wrong track. And so I like our chances of gaining the majority in the Senate and stopping a lot of the dysfunction that we've seen under Democratic leadership there the last 4 years.
Are you seeing down-ticket enthusiasm leading from Donald Trump that's helping out a lot of the Republican candidates who are trying to tip big races? Montana comes to mind, Ohio comes to mind, even Pennsylvania, Senator Casey comes to mind. What do you think?
Well, I was just with Senator Cruz down close to San Antonio a little while ago, and we're seeing a lot of people showing up and showing a lot of enthusiasm because of things like the high costs of inflation that are caused by the massive overspending by the Democrats, and then things like the border, which, as you know well, has been an unmitigated disaster. So a lot of enthusiasm for all of our candidates up and down the ticket, but I think President Trump is inspiring a lot of new voters who may be what we call low propensity voters to actually turn out and vote because they don't like the direction the country's heading in. You
know, you're interested in being a leader of those Republicans. You might have that opportunity in the majority if Republicans take control. John Thune of South Dakota wants the same job. There could be other dark horses who emerge. But you and John Thune particularly seem like mirror images of each other, are the same. Am I right on that?
I'm not sure John Thune would consider that a compliment, Neil. No, John's a good man. It's Rick Scott who's running. I mean, we're friends. We've worked together closely. But I think we're going to have some incredibly challenging opportunities come January. And if we don't hit this 2-year window, really, with President Trump in office and a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, I think we will have squandered the best opportunity we've had a long time to begin to bend the debt curve and to reprioritize federal spending and to keep taxes low and the economy growing, which is what President Trump wants to do. So I'm eager to be a part of that, and I've offered myself to help in that process.
It sounds like Rick Scott would be a spoiler, though, in that it's really between you and John Thune. And he, of course, was no fan of Mitch McConnell's. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Rick's been an incredibly successful businessman and governor, and he's a very outstanding senator. And what I want to try to do, if I am given the opportunity to become the next leader of the Republicans in the Senate, is to make sure that we tap in to the incredible expertise and the experience of all of the members of the Republican conference. I want to make America great again by making the Senate work again. And that's something that hadn't happened in a long time.
Now, Mitch McConnell had an acrimonious relationship with Donald Trump. He was a good team player and is supporting the ticket to get Republicans back in the White House. Are you afraid that that were you'd encounter the same type of friction?
Well, my experience with President Trump is you can tell him the truth in private, and he is willing to listen, and sometimes he's willing to do what you suggest. Other times he may disagree, and that's his prerogative. But I've had a very successful 4 years working with President Trump during his first term. 2 years of that time, I was the whip, or the vote counter, the #2 guy in the Senate, and we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, and other very important legislation. It was a very successful 4 years. And as I told President Trump, I'm interested in getting the band back together again.
Are you worried, though, that it can be volatile, and others in your position have dealt with that, yourself included, with some criticism of January 6th and all of that? So you're not worried about any nastiness?
Well, I think we're all adults, and we understand that none of this is easy. And but I think we're all committed to doing the right thing for our country, which to me transcends any conflicts, any personalities, or the like. So I actually feel this is a tremendous responsibility. And having been in the Senate as long as I have, I've seen it when it worked well and when it did not work well. And I know the challenges we have in terms of $35 trillion in debt, more money being paid on interest than on the defense spending, and then obviously the broken border and so many other issues that I'm eager to be a part of that effort to fix what's broken.
All right, Senator, we'll see what happens. Still a long ways to go and all of that, but always great having you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Neil.